Hello, hello, my friends! Welcome back to the Neil Fox Show. My name is Neil Fox, and with me, as always, is my partner in love and in life, Link Labrador.
Hello, welcome to the State of the Fandom, and today we will be diving into the topic of aliens, and are they just human beings that escaped this simulation, or are they from another planet? Let's talk about the thought experiment.
I like it. We've been talking about this thought experiment quite a bit this week. So for anyone who's not aware, a thought experiment is actually what propelled the ancient Greeks. The concept of the thought experiment is actually what propelled the ancient Greeks into all of their incredible knowledge.
Yes.
Because they didn't have, for example, a spaceship to go up and look at the planets. They didn't even have a telescope.
But
a telescope would not be invented for 2,000 years.
But somehow they managed to correctly predict the existence of all the planets plus Pluto.
Wow. I hadn't heard that, but interestingly enough, the Greeks predicted that the sun was at the center of the solar system.
No.
And that knowledge was lost for approximately 1,000 years. Incredible.
No. I personally believe that the ancient Greeks were far more advanced and far more sophisticated than we give them credit for. Well, they did create the world's first functional computer.
Correct. So that is referring to the Antikythera mechanism, right?
Yes.
So for anyone who isn't aware, the Antikythera mechanism is a bit of a hyped up thing. It is really, really cool, and it advanced our knowledge of science by about 100 years because we thought that it took an additional 100 years to reach that level of sophistication of gears. Okay? Because the Antikythera mechanism is basically like a very simple cuckoo clock.
Basically, yes.
It's I don't know the whole details on it. I haven't looked at it in quite a while, but it's got a bunch of gears on it, and it calculates, I think, the rotation of the planets or something. But the point is...
It does more than just that.
Wow. Well, tell me about it.
Well, it does the rotation of the planets, it does astrological symbols, astrological signs, solar events. Basically, it's the Swiss Army knife of ancient clocks.
Right. And how incredible that they had this technology over 100 years before we thought they did. Amazing. Now, when you say super advanced, what do you mean?
Well, when I say super advanced, I simply mean that many of their myths and legends were based off of advanced technology that they had or had heard of.
Interesting. Okay, continue.
Again, I'm going down the rabbit hole here, so today's a little more of a rabbit hole sort of event. And when I say that they had knowledge of these advanced technologies, they had knowledge of human-animal hybrids.
Well, that is a very interesting thing. So we are both furries, and as it happens, the world's first piece of sculpture art, so not including cave paintings, the first piece of sculpture art, or three-dimensional art, is a half man, half tiger, or lion. Not really sure which.
Yeah.
But half man, half big cat, basically.
Not to mention the Greeks and the Romans had advanced knowledge of medicine.
Absolutely.
They figured out once upon a time that, maybe you should sterilize the tools. Maybe germ theory, which their concept for germ theory, they use completely different words for it. Even if we read some of their texts, we may not be able to deduce that they understood germ theory because science is science. Science is eternal. Science can ebb and it can flow.
Absolutely.
It can wax and it can wane, but
that's the nice thing about objective truth. So, something like a personal belief, like, I'm a Taurus or whatever. That's a belief. That's not a fact. That's a belief. So, if all knowledge of horoscopes was lost, and when people made new horoscopes, they would be random, right?
It would still be recreated in a way that made sense to the individuals.
Correct, but if we lost all knowledge of Einstein's theory of special relativity, which took over 500 years of scientific progress to reach that point, okay? 500 years, twice as long as the United States has been a country.
Yes.
It took to get to the point of E equals mc squared from the point of, I wonder what light is. And so, the thing is, E equals mc squared, as far as we know, is an objective truth, i.e. it is true anywhere in the universe.
Oh, and we can definitely thank the Catholic Church for suppressing all scientific knowledge, because the Holy Jesus, motherfucker, the Holy Jesus, my guy, wound up, and the most important thing in the universe, and wound up, essentially suppressing all scientific growth for the last 1,000+ years. Good job, Catholic Church.
So here's the thing that I want to know, especially about the furry stuff, because, one, the ancient Egyptians were furries, by every definition of the word.
No.
I believe that it would be fun to have a friend who looks like Anubis.
No.
They also believed that.
Now, if we find a tomb of Anubis, or we find any more ancient tombs, put it back. We'll worry about it 100 years from now. Just put it back. Just put it back.
One of my favorite images that has ever been created, and ironically enough, from the very beginning of photography, so only around 100 years after photography had been invented, is when they uncovered King Tut's tomb. And they find the knot on the door that's keeping the door shut.
Yes.
And that knot had been there for over 2,500 years. That's incredible.
It's almost like we should leave it alone. Just put it back. Don't worry about it. Put it back.
See, here's the thing. I don't think that there are spirits and ghosts and whatever, but I think that is a personal truth for me. Because I have not had any direct experience or evidence. Say again?
I have.
Exactly. And so for you, a personal truth is that there are spirits. That's fine. There is no reason for us to dislike each other as people because we share different personal beliefs.
Yeah.
I care about you and love you as my partner, despite the fact that we disagree. And in spite of the fact that we disagree.
Wow.
And because we disagree, we have much more interesting conversation. So it strengthens our relationship rather than making it weaker.
Yes, I've seen some weird things in my time, and I've been to some really weird places. And I've seen things I can't possibly explain.
Oh, why don't you give us some examples?
Well, in my mother's house, back when I lived there, almost every single night, a ghostly figure, full apparition, would walk down the hallway and go visit my brother.
Jesus.
Every night. And there was also a little boy who died. One of my cousins died of polio in the house. And the family's Cocker Spaniel bound his soul. And the Cocker Spaniel bound his soul to the ghost of the little boy.
Okay. Well, and people who are intuitive thinkers, i.e., people who are mostly right-brained thinkers, oftentimes believe in spirits or ghosts or thetans or whatever. That's fine.
Well, that's the thing. I've seen it.
My point is, people who think like you are more likely to be spiritual.
Yeah.
People who think like me are less likely to be spiritual.
No,
but that is no reason to hate each other.
Now, as far as thetans go, those little weirdos over at Scientology, no thank you. And thetans might be real, but guess what? I'm not about to go through their auditing process to find out.
Well, one of the biggest ways that we disagree is that I am a Scientologist and my partner is not. That's a pretty big difference. But you know what's a bigger difference, in my opinion?
What?
You vote Republican and I vote Democrat. And in my opinion, that is a much bigger difference between two people than Scientologist and non-Scientologist.
Well, the terms Republican Democrat have been bastardized to such an insane degree that they might as well just be the same term of, I vote red, you vote blue. Let's sit down and talk about the issues. How about you?
And here's the thing. I don't know if Scientology is true. It seems true to me. Now, I could be wrong. And that's one of the nice things about it. One of the things that is important in many modern religions, but also in many ancient religions, including Buddhism, is if something is not true for you, then just don't believe it. That's fine. If it is true for you, then believe it. It's one of the strong teachings from the Buddha, for example, where he said, test with your own experience or your own thoughts.
Yep.
And if there's any part of his teaching that doesn't work for you, just follow the rest of it.
Well, it's almost like the Buddha had the right idea of live your own life, bro.
You guys still doing okay?
Yep.
Do you need anything right now?
No.
Just a check whenever you can.
Okay.
Thank you.
But yes, when it comes to living your own life, yes, making money is important. Being efficient is important. Having convenience when it's convenient is important. It can all be simultaneously true, which my partner does not comprehend paradoxes.
Well, as an analytical or robotic thinker,
Whenever you're ready, I'll be the cashier for you, okay?
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
Thanks, boss.
Thank you.
let me see if I got a card. I think I do. Yeah. Our sponsor, Chase Sapphire Preferred Credit Card.
Absolutely. But yes,
Thank you, Chase Sapphire, our sponsor. Let's go into the reasons why the Chase Sapphire Preferred Credit Card is such an excellent credit card. What are some reasons that have stood out to you?
well, it has its own concierge service.
Indeed it does. This is
Do we
called
use
the Visa Concierge Line. It is 24/7. And if you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred Credit Card, or a few other select credit cards, mostly from Visa and Amex and stuff, again, for people over the age of 18 or 21 or whatever it is to be able to sign up for it. Kids, don't sign up for credit cards, please. And only sign up for a credit card if you are absolutely certain that you will be able to pay it back before the interest accrues. But if you are able to do that, and simply pay off the balance each month, all that it does is it defers the time that you have to pay the bill. So, let's say that you start a new job and you need a couple of supplies for your job, like shoes or a computer or something.
Uh-huh.
Putting that cost on a credit card and then paying it off with your first paycheck after a week, perfectly reasonable, and you don't pay any interest. It also builds your credit over time. So there are many reasons to do that. And with our sponsor, Chase Sapphire Preferred Credit Card, you get a couple of points every time that you spend money. And by doing so, you can then use those points for things like travel and hotels. For example, if you want to go to a convention and not have to pay for the travel.
Absolutely.
So most furries, for example, have, 50,000, 100,000 a year jobs. If they spent, say, 20% of their income on a Chase Sapphire Preferred Credit Card, our sponsor, then they would be able to then use the points to go to whatever convention they wanted for free.
More or less.
So thank you again to Chase for sponsoring this episode, and let's get back to the show.
Now, getting back to paradoxes, which my little fox boy doesn't seem to understand most of the time. I am a walking...
Paradoxes don't make sense to a robotic or analytical thinker like myself, because we think in binary, 0
Yes.
and 1.
Are y'all ready to cash out, guys? Oh, perfect.
Right there.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Hand me the cheese dip, please.
Oh.